there's a small automaker that had an all-wheel drive event in Park City, Utah. I just got back home from, in fact, midday today. And so I've been driving their new all-wheel drive vehicles and some of their current all-wheel drive vehicles. And it was, I learned a great deal. John, no worries. You will still continue to exhibit great technical superiority over my understanding. Even though I did spend a couple of days with the people who designed the system and did their very best to pound some sense into my head. It is complicated at best, but that small company is, of course, Toyota, and Toyota is rolling out, of course, all-wheel drive, interestingly enough, in their sedans.
Did you take these off-road going in the desert with these sedans?
I was at 8,300 feet in the mountains above Salt Lake City, and Toyota had set up a special snow and ice only course for all of the vehicles, with hills and turns and tons of fun. And yes, I drove every one of them multiple times over this course and did my very best to thrash them. For the record, because there's video, and that video will undoubtedly come out. Yes, at one time I did run the RAV4 off the course and had to go out with an enormous Caterpillar tractor.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
How far off did you get it?
As it happens, I happened to have one of the hosts of the event from Toyota, who was actually filming at the time when the car slid off the road because it was obviously broken. Had nothing to do with my driving.
Right. And you said so much for your all-wheel drive.
Exactly. Had dynamic torque vectoring control.
Like it's for starting, not stopping.
Yeah.
It's not the same system in all the vehicles, though, John, as you well know.
What's that?
I said it's not the same system in all the vehicles, though they don't all have dynamic torque vectoring. So
yes, but that's specific to the RAV4.
Damn it!
You did say RAV4. You took the RAV4 off the course.
I swear, I talked to the chief engineer. I said, I got this guy who's has this encyclopedia brain. I just need something so that I can sound a little bit smarter than him just once. He just shook his head. He just said, no, you're not going to do it.
He shook his head and he said, you mean John?
So we have a couple of great interviews coming up with the chief engineer of the Camry all-wheel drive system. He also is the chief engineer of Avalon, that features a new all-wheel drive system. Look for that in the next few days, as well as one of the communications experts who's going to talk about the difference between all 5 different all-wheel drive systems. And we'll have that video will have some graphs, because it's complicated. There's 5 different all-wheel drive systems deployed in these vehicles.
Maybe 4. Interesting.
I got a couple.
Why and how? What?
The fact that we're all stuttering.
Why so many?
Yeah.
No, I'm.
Why so many? Why so many?
Why so many? So, for instance, Prius has one called all-wheel drive E. Mm-hmm. I'm looking, John, for confirmation. Yes, there we go. I haven't screwed that up yet. So, all-wheel drive E was actually adapted from the RAV originally, wasn't it?
From where?
That was the Highlander.
Or from Highlander. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So, the way this works is it's a Prius. Just like a normal Prius, front-wheel drive, the different motor generators up there. However, the rear wheels with all-wheel drive E system have a motor, an electric motor, an induction electric motor that helps drive the rear wheels in certain situations and up to a maximum speed. Okay, and I'm not going to give you the details in that because that's in the video that we're going to post. You have to go there to find that out.
But that's like the original Highlander was, like you said.
I believe that's where they adapted the system. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Highlander.
There's some changes, but yes.
Yeah. So the reason that they use this specific system in Prius is because it's very lightweight, it's very efficient, and it doesn't hurt the driving efficiency of the vehicle otherwise. The systems in Camry and Avalon, for instance, are different. They don't use the induction motor, and they use different mechanical and electromechanical means to get power to the rear wheels. And that doesn't lend itself as well. It's not as efficient a system. So there's obviously a little toll, right? Nothing's free. There's no magic energy that suddenly powers the back wheels. And in those cars, it's not quite as critical as it is in Prius. Does that make sense?
Because they're not fuel efficiency focused and they have bigger engines.
Now,
Exactly correct.
but my understanding is that the all-wheel drive systems are only available in the 2.5-liter four-cylinder gas Camry and Avalon.
I cannot confirm or deny that until February 18th.
That's probably a packaging
Okay.
situation because the Toyota V6 is quite large.
Yeah,
Right.
So I have to say. Oh, I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just going to say then the reason why I ask is that it may not be available in hybrid form. So since we were kind of talking about the Prius to start, but anyway, yes.
Yeah, no, and I think
continue.
John is actually, as usual, correct in that. Right, you can only get it on certain vehicles, and it only pairs up with
And you
certain.
Cannot confirm or deny that yet. Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and I'm unfortunately under embargo on some information until February 18th, so I can't specifically talk about some aspects of, for instance, Camry and Avalon, whereas I could talk about Prius or Highlander or whatever.
So we're up to 3?
I'm sorry?
We're up to 3 systems?
Well, then there's Highlander has a different system than Camry, and one of the Highlander system has dynamic torque vectoring, or is that the one in the sedans, John?
My understanding is the RAV4 Limited and SE have dynamic torque vectoring. The LE and the XLE have a different all-wheel drive system, which may or may not be the same one as the ones in the Camry and the Avalon.
Right,
but I guess we'll find out when you.
We'll find out soon, and that's why I say when I do the interview, laying out these different systems, there will be a chart on the screen that says like what vehicle trims, what vehicles, what system it is. It's super complicated. That's not a bad thing. What they've done is obviously adapt these all-wheel drive systems to each vehicle, doing what they thought, tuning it the best way they could for efficiency and for handling. And I'm sad that I'm precluded from talking about the driving experience in those cars because, believe me, on a snow and ice course, it was quite an interesting test.
So I used to drive a large all-wheel drive sedan, and it was, let's just call it luxury. It felt luxury, and I didn't take the opportunity to drive it on snow and ice, not through any of my own choices. It just happened. What does Toyota say is the reason that they did it? Because you don't typically think of the Toyota buyer as somebody who's interested in all-wheel drive large sedans.
Well, as you might imagine, Toyota being Toyota, didn't say a lot about their philosophy or their reasonings behind it. Even
so
though
we're allowed to speculate.
Here's the thing, do you want it?
Well, I mean, here's what it is. You guys make of it what you will. There was a lot of speculation, and I think this is the most reasonable case going forward, which is, look, Ford and GM just killed most of their sedan programs. Everyone is intensifying their efforts in the SUV and truck industry, and Toyota certainly isn't backing away from that sector, but they also don't want to lose their sedan business. It's still huge. So what can they do? Well, they can add SUV-like features to their sedans.
Functionality, but don't want the size and the fuel efficiency.
Or maybe just go, look, you can have this SUV or you can have this Camry. Which would you prefer?
Like they did before SUVs came out.
Right.
I do get it on the Prius, though, because there you can get it for almost free, the way that they have it set up.
Absolutely. And as I said, I guess it was almost 2 years ago when I did the introduction of the all-wheel drive Prius. It's amazing the difference. Now, I can probably say this. That amazing difference when you compare it to the systems in the other vehicles becomes much less amazing. It is clearly a system in the Prius designed for efficiency, whereas the effectiveness of the all-wheel drive system in the other vehicles is pretty staggering.
So it's not going to be like my Teslas at all.
How so?
Like with their all-wheel drive, it's going to be completely different.
No, the Prius all-wheel drive E system is basically a very light all-wheel drive system.
It only works from startup to 6 miles per hour, and then if needed, if the ECU in the car decides that it needs to engage the rear wheels, it will turn them on up to 43 miles per hour. Toyota's reasoning again for this was making it super efficient, and that most urban, complicated, potentially dangerous lack of friction incidents occur at that speed range.
So when
not
are
made of
they
money.
expecting? When are they expecting these all-wheel drive sedans to be available?
Ooh, I don't have my notes.
Is
Camry.
Fall of 2020.
Well, Camry is now, I think, and Avalon is this fall.
When does the embargo end?
The
Next
18th.
Tuesday.
Oh.
The 18th, and we will have a Camry review, hopefully in a few weeks. Hopefully I'll get to drive the Camry for a full review very soon. And even though I'm in San Diego, I will look for slippery, slidey places to go and drive. But
We're gonna get some dawn.
yeah,
You're gonna get a lot of ice and snow there in San Diego, I'm sure.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I got frozen lakes all around me. Okay,
You've got an
the
ice
fire
cube tray
department.
that's full.
I like the Dawn dishwashing liquid suggestion though. That's good. I mean, it's maybe a little over the top, but it's good. I like that.
If you have it for a week, just drive back to Utah. Go for it.